Okay, so updates. My part-time teacher is turning out to be an absolute dud. She called in last week because it was raining. This was like 6 hours before she was supposed to even start. She messaged me in the morning. It's raining. I can't come in. So next time I see her, I'm probably just gonna fire her. I need to save the money. Really, she's not doing that much. And it's just she's more trouble than it's worth. So. That's too bad. It's a learning experience. It's taught me to choose my staff wisely and to maintain a strict need-to-know policy about things, which is good. It's a learning experience, and there's no harm, no foul, really. She doesn't really need the work, and she's moving out of town anyways, so I don't have to have the burden of removing someone's financial livelihood from them, which would be kind of a hard thing to deal with. Anyways, so with that said, I'm pretty open to finding a new, mostly full-time teacher as of next spring. I'm waiting to hear back from the local university on what my schedule for next year will be. But if it's any more than 4 classes a week, I will be in a pretty good position to hire someone with a full-time salary and still make a pretty decent income from the school. So that's something I'm looking forward to. That's up in the air for the time being. But even if it doesn't happen, it's really no big deal. I'm learning I really need to kind of move a little more slowly on things and kind of approach a more stage by stage, phase by phase way of doing things. I learned a lot from like Kerfluffle at this last job. It was all kind of out of whack. My approach was not as skillful as it could have been, and as much of a learning experience as it was, it was, worth it in the end. I suppose, it would have been cool to have a remote job where you just kind of got all this opportunity. But there also would have been elements of complacency maybe and potential negative effect on my school if I ended up if I had all the um, what's elements in place at the time. Would have been able to make the time commitment to the job. But what if something happened? What if this um, teacher turned out to flake on me then? It would have been a really bad situation. So yeah, definitely having the resources and the right presentation and the right position when you start something is so important. And I kind of need to remember that I do have that. Like, this school is providing an income, and I need to keep that in mind. Like, it's so easy to get set on this like grind ahead type of mentality. After a few years, it's all you know, and it's important sometimes I think to take a step back and reassess and be like, okay, dude, what's your hurry? Like, slow down, And it's ironic because if I had just slowed down and approached things in a more methodical, um, patient way, I could be in a very different position right now. That's true of a lot of people. I mean, God, if only we knew what we knew now, what we know now when we were, 20 something. Yeah, nothing special there, but it is once you make that realization, I think it's very empowering. So my plan, I haven't given up on pursuing other opportunities that require, different skill sets. Um, as rewarding as teaching English has been, it's also been kind of a mixed bag. I'm having some real issues with Japanese society where I'm just realizing like it's just such a difficult society in some respects. The way there's this huge emphasis on kind of preserving, they call it wa, preserving the face of things. Um, but what's not often mentioned is that it's actually very, very materialistic. It's very, what's the word? It's surface level stuff. And really everyone's main concern is just fitting in with each other. Everyone's terrified of losing face with each other. So if there's some kind of misunderstanding or someone decides to be passive aggressive and start something um, about you, the chances are minimal you'll get any feedback as to what's actually going on, and you'll just kind of have to wait it out. And in the meantime, because everyone has decided and have to follow each other. Um, it's just kind of a mess sometimes, and it kind of pisses me off. Like I really just miss like a more open society where people know how to think and they're more analytical, and they don't um, just blindly follow bizarre edicts that they don't even understand. You know, so um, it's funny how you reach these kind of plateaus in life, and then there's a new challenge that comes, or something dumb happens that reminds you, like, yeah, dude, don't get too comfortable, you know, because of course complacency is almost always a mistake. I mean, even the Buddhas aren't complacent, right? And they've gone as far as you can go. So my plan is to continue breaking into tech work. One nice thing about it is it doesn't require certification in the same sense as like being a doctor or a lawyer would. The same with English teaching, really. You can just start doing it, and if people are happy with your services, they'll be happy, and you can make money doing it. And with tech, it's very similar. You can just build your skill set and start freelance, start slow, and segue into things. So I'm about 80% done with a website I'm building designed to sell services, designing websites, doing mobile optimization, renovating older sites, and there's one more. Oh yeah, templates. So starting with kind of a template instead of a custom design, so it gives customers options if they want to start from square one or kind of more from like square 9 or 10, depending on their budget and whatnot. And there's a lot of people making money doing that. I'm slowly building my skill set, so I think that's something to focus on in the interim and keep me occupied and you know, motivated. So as happy as I am to have kept my school, it's funny. The past few days I've just run into another wall um, between me and the normal life here. Where I just feel like, you know, yeah, there's good people here, but god damn, there's so many weird people, and it's 100% because I'm not Japanese. And you'd think in the 21st century, like, people would be more open-minded, but no. Like, this society the culture has such a bizarre grip on it, and there's this weird dichotomy between there's kind of the face of things, and then there's what people are really thinking, and like so much of the time what they're really thinking is so hysterical and inaccurate and poisoned and aggressive and weird, and you can see it, but it's like you're not allowed to do anything, and it's really, really weird to deal with after a few years. You're just like, why are you doing that? And so it's not always like that, but it's been my experience in the past few days of just the force of groupthink when groupthink is wrong. And that drives a lot of foreigners. A lot of people just can't handle life here. The neuroses, I guess you'd say, and the exclusion really, really gets to people. And on top of that, they're stuck doing this job that gets pretty old. You know, dancing around with kids and teaching the same, you know, 20 to 30 lesson points year after year. It does do people's head in, and it puts you in a position that's kind of extreme. It's like you don't have the option of just relaxing into the routine of your life the rest of your days here, because what it's going to bring you is a very bizarre existence in the end, where you'll be, you know, an elderly person in a society that more or less is not totally comfortable with you being here. And very few people will say that, but it's true. There's this kind of like, oh yes, international is good, but at the same time, there's this very ethnocentric, xenophobic, ignorant, and kind of, what's the word, bizarrely enraged and kind of detached from reality type of thinking. And you know, you have to have a certain approach where you can deal with stuff like that. And usually that entails networking with people that, you know, present opportunities that don't require you to invest your time and energy in this place anymore. So there's that. And I've just been reminded by that again. So I think it's time to really step it up, but be smarter about it. And it may come to the point where I reapply for that same job or something similar um, once spring comes around. But I think it's important that I wait until then and just focus on what I'm doing now. And then if I can hire a full-time teacher, that's going to change a lot of things. But if I can't, I need to kind of be a little more patient about it. So there it is. I'm still very focused on pursuing change. You know, I'm not going to be a John English teacher for the next 10 years. Hopefully no more than the next 3, I think. That's a very realistic goal. You know, ideally I'd like to be, you know, I've taken a back seat and just managing and working on stuff I actually enjoy working on within the next year, but it doesn't always happen that way. 3 years is pretty realistic, I think. That's quite a bit of time to build a skill set and portfolio and network and whatnot. So we'll see how it goes. 3 years I'll be 39, so that's still, you know, pretty young, relatively speaking. Younger than, you know, 49 or 59. So see how it goes. All right, till next time.